Hello, good evening, and welcome to this year's Halloween live stream. It's nice to see people already in the chat, which is excellent. I'm going to try and keep my eye on that without distracting myself or otherwise having a complete train wreck in terms of keeping track of the quality of the stream. But yeah, we're good to go. We have 5 stories to share this evening. In this evening's what I'm calling a spooky story Moot, Spooky Archaeological Tales Moot, and yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued about where this is going to go. I haven't actually read them or in their entirety either, as this year isn't technically a competition. It's more of well, yeah, it's a moot. We're meeting together with our stories, and we're going to begin. Incidentally, Nolan is in the chat there. Hello, happy Halloween, Charminar. Hello, Michelle, Lord Engine. And well, speaking of Nolan, we're going to begin with Nolan's story, seeing as he seemingly wrote this many moons ago. And I'm really hoping my voice holds out this evening. Of all things, I'm getting a sore throat. It's very annoying. But I think we're good to go. Happy Halloween, one and all. And let's kick off with Nolan's story, and that is The Oasis. It is 666 words, incidentally. So well done to Nolan. A rusted dagger plunges into the flesh of a wild beast, spilling viscera out onto the sand. Blood pools in the dust, shaped by tiny hands into torrid red clay. It was the first year the oasis had lasted through the summer. Rushes growing in the small pool of muddy water attracted creatures from across the endless desert. I was distracted again by the quality of the stream. Elders spoke of unending dust storms and whirlwinds of fire that consumed all life. The rains returned to quench the desiccated earth, and the village thrived. Indeed, a whole story in 666 words. Try 9. Actually, I haven't printed off your one. Sorry, Charminar. Nestled in a depression in the dunes, their dwellings were little more than circular pits, dug into the sand, capped with red clay domes to shade from the blistering sun. Most of the tribe used stone tools, but the best hunters wielded sharp metal blades. Their hands bore deep scars from crafting slag into a polished edge. Mountains of sand. I will get to it, don't worry, Shaman. Mountains of sand to the east yielded twisted masses of scorched iron. But they could only travel in the cool of night, and there was no shelter along the way. Now, interestingly enough, I'm reading a graphic novel that's very similar to this sort of feel at the moment, so I'm digging it. A group of young hunters set out under starlight to find their own steel. At dawn they burrowed a temporary shelter under a large rock to wait out the day. After another night of travelling through the barren wastes, they came upon the mountain of sand. The sun-baked surface of the massive dune scorched their hands, but as they dug deeper it became cool to the touch. It would collapse as fast as they could dig, so they gathered the fine dust and used urine to line the walls with clay. Fair enough, I suppose. Eventually, the sand became compact enough to excavate a long tunnel into the heart of the mountain. Their fingers began to bind with sticky white threads that supported a hollow chamber, from which a torrent of sand spiders spilled out. Oh my goodness. Venomous fangs took a life and weakened the rest, but they kept digging deeper. They hit a hard, vitrified mass, pouring its blistered surface. It scraped and scratched their tender skin. A loose piece was pried away and snapped off with an echoing clang that rattled through the tunnel when the sunlight behind them disappeared. Yeah, indeed, water being scarce and all makes sense. Scrambling back through the darkness, the tunnel floor quickly filled with tumbling sand like an hourglass. Crawling through the showering sand and choking back dust, one of them was sealed behind. Attempting to dig a new way in, a torrent of hot sand buried another under the landslide. They searched for their friends, but the sand threatened to swallow them all. Forced to give in, their eyes and lips lined with clay, the survivors returned to the village, defeated. The sands continually shifted, and by nightfall the entire mountain was sinking behind them. The tunnel appeared as a gaping mouth that had swallowed their companions alive. Willingly. They fled to the shelter under the rock and rested for a day. At dusk, out of the sands walked a shining figure cloaked in shimmering silver. Within stood a tall, pale woman with large eyes. The silver suit reflected the sky like a mirror. The hunters believed she was a fallen star and brought her back to the village that night, where she began drawing images in the sand. They told of a world rich with life, water, and people who built structures that stretched to the stars. The structures made smoke that trapped the sun and burned the entire world. The visitor stayed for a night, gifting strange seeds to plant in the oasis, and set out at dawn in her silver suit. The young hunters followed her footprints back to the mountain of sand. It had collapsed to reveal skeletons of twisted metal and a great solid door that split open and cast a beam of white light across the desert. Behind the massive door was an underground city with hundreds of tall, pale people surrounded by living machines. It was in this place that they had survived for 1,000 years, waiting for Earth to heal after a disastrous calamity. Absolutely. Oh yes, yep. Don't forget to like the stream. Thank you, Charminar. I always forget to ask and point that out. But I like it. I like it. This was not in the past, but rather in the future. And I'm not going to bring us down with depressing thoughts this evening. But yeah, looks like we're not on a path. Well, the near future will not look the same as the near past. Yes, very Lovecraft. I liked it. Yeah, very much like the Forgotten City, or the Forbidden City. No, I liked it. I dig it. I like it a lot. Next we have, this is the first of 2 stories from Michelle. So Michelle Franklin has submitted 2. The first one is not 666, it's actually 777. And in fact, my first draft was 888. So we've all been doing the triple numbers at least. This is 777 without the title, she notes. So here we are. Something lived in the lake, something beyond the usual residents. A boy was tossing rocks in and trying to coax something out. Mindle thought he should help. "Hello!" shouted Mindle. "Yes, I don't mean to tell you how to skip stones, but..." The boy tossed a stone. It landed in the middle of the lake with a blump. The surface of the lake trembled. The reflection blurred, but there were no ripples. "I'm no playing," the boy rejoined. "I'm after getting her to come out." Who? Asked Mendel, trying to see to the bottom of the lake. The darkness at the centre was almost impenetrable. The sun's rays reached into the tangles of wrack, but not beyond. Her, wi' the swords, said the boy. She only comes out if you throw things. Another rock sailed into the lake with a blomp. Oh, my phone is not on airplane mode. Apologies if you got a noise in the microphone there. Perhaps she only comes out if you give her things she likes, Mendel offered. The boy was hardly listening. He heaved a large stone this time. It sailed along the lake on an angle and skimmed the surface once, twice, and halted when a hand shot up from the water. Got her, the boy declared. A hand was sticking up from the centre of the lake, holding the stone the boy had thrown. Gimme me your sword, lady of the lake. The sky darkened slightly. Apologies. The sky darkened slightly. A voice skated across the lake. No. The hand threw the rock back. The boy dived out of the way, but the rock caught him in the side and sent him sailing sideways along the valley. There was a satisfied humph, and the hand turned to Mendel. What do you want? A voice railed. I've just come upon your lake, which is very beautiful, Mendel chimed. I love how it's caparisoned in little snails, doing snail things. I'm Mendel, by the way. What's your name? The hand sighed a sigh. A voice, faint as breath. Vivienne. Oh, that's a lovely name. Vivienne Nemensch. I told you I was reading this for the first time, sorry. Mendel thought he had water in his ears. Sorry, was that Numenkia? Numenkia? Not Nemensch? The fingers on the hand shrugged. Well, that's as good as anyone's going to get. It's a wonderful name, only slightly less pronounceable because I can't fit the sounds in my mouth, said Mendel. Call me Nemu. Oh, Nemu is much easier. But is there a person who belongs to that name, or are you just a very long-hand fish? I'm a Graig Anun. Anin, rather. Mendel blinked. Is that an aquatic bird? The hand mined with its fingers. What do you have to do with swords? Mendel continued. That boy said he wanted a sword, and he was throwing rocks into the lake to get it. The hand leaned plaintively. Someone got the idea that I give out magical swords. Oh, how did that happen? Because I gave out a magical sword. Oh, Mendel sniffed. Yes, that will do it, I'm afraid. It was only once, the hand flapped, and I was saving the sword for one who was worthy enough to wield it. Then why do people come back demanding swords from you? Because the sword made a man a king. Oh, well, if they knew how dreadful hard it was to be a king, I don't think anyone should disturb your lake again. But do you actually have any swords? The hand plunged and returned with a dagger. Kerp kutl erktern, the hand began, but the dagger got in the way. It went p'too, and tossed the dagger aside. I keep a collection of blades, usually all the ones men throw at me. Well, I'm very sure you have important handfish business, but thank you for your company and for telling me about your swords. Would you like one? The hand pined. Well, only if you have one to give me. I mean, but I ought to trade something for it. Mindle reached into his pocket. He had a bit of thread, a piece of scone. He chose the scone. Here, here you are, handfish, Nimu. The hand reached out, extended into an arm, and then another arm, becoming a never-ending telescope of forearms and elbows. The fingers on the hands seemed to lengthen, the fingertips darkening, the nails stretching, and Mindle looked up, watching the hand lift out of the lake on a mountainous mass. The two black pins winked open, with jagged teeth. Crowned a boat-like smile. The hand and the attached arms hung lifeless from the creature's forehead, and a skirt of swords garlanded its knees. Mindle gaped up. "Oh," after a moment's pause, I can see why you like staying in your lake. And that's where the story comes to a close, or I suppose the vignette comes to a close. So, 777. Thank you very much, Michelle. I'm so sorry that I bungled the pronunciation there initially, but nonetheless, interesting. Yeah, like an anglerfish, sort of. Yeah. I don't know about it. No, I still have nightmares trimming down my ears. Post-Arthurian. Yeah, presumably. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, next we have a story by Glenn Gleeson, which by my count was 664 words. But that might have included the title, but that would take it to 667. So I don't know. However, close enough. This isn't a competition this year. It's a moot. And this is a story called The Bronze Mirror. Intriguing. Father brought it home, I remember, during the stink, when the Thames itself rotted in high summer, fueled by whatever corruption London's humanity might generate. It hung there in the hall. It watched Mother waste and die. We covered its face. We covered it again when Jeff, young Jeff, gave up the ghost to consumption. When the great man of empire himself quaffed his last brandy, we mourned again, and so covered it. His carved, tanned face looked so serious even in death. Albert went. He was the eldest. Hannah was trampled by a coach. We covered it. Then was the man, and there were only the twins to see after, with cracking boy voices. I was the man. But I was not much of one. Dice, cards, and horses earned more than enough red numbers to outpace my income. It was when I had let go Sally Murphy that I found myself standing in the hall before the bronze mirror. Sally had never let it get dirty, or, for some force of hell, had let it to glimmer almost golden. Whatever the reasons, every line on my worried frame was meticulously scribed in metal. The pits of my cheeks lovingly shaded. The cast frame seemed to have on it some mode of Chinese ideograms. Father had said he had asked the visiting Mandarin who was there to see about some aspect of our troubles with his country whether he knew the nature of the letters. But the official had admitted ignorance. It was only later supposed that the writing was particular of Kitai, but on this day I cannot read it. To this day, I cannot read it. In any case, I thought it ought to fetch a good sum at Christie's. Their appraisal man was to leave in a fury, as I had called on him and sent him away without securing any offer. But I found myself staring at the coppery plain without a will to look away. It seemed some glow had come to my sunken features, and that I was perhaps returned to handsomeness. Not long after a good sum of money had come from my solicitor, one of father's long investments had unexpectedly matured. When I saw myself again in the bronze, I was most surely fuller. I resolved then to be a good son and brother, putting money where it ought to go rather than where I might wish it. So I set myself to business as best I knew how. I was away on such matters when Sam had his bad fall. By the time I got in by hansom, Chas was in full grief. Our brother had gone. The mirror saw my secret tears and somehow made them glitter. I myself beheld them and was filled with a blasphemous mirth that one in mourning does not feel when he is of the human character. I laughed then, laughed long. Harold, clad in black, as he ought to be for his twin, heard me and looked ill. "It's that damned mirror!" I protested with elation. Oh, sorry. "It's that damned mirror!" I protested with elation. Harold watched with disgust as my trembling hand could not drape the purple cloth over the Khitan letters. Sam must have hated me then, but I sent him away. It was no great thing, as he was nearing his time for university, and I had only to dangle the weight of our family name to get him in. He would not have to trouble himself with the mirror, as I have done. I kept myself close to it, for closeness brings prosperity, and neglect brings tragedy. Such a lesson has been carved through our line with indelible force. I'm writing this letter, newly married, and placing it in the little cedar box with the cleaning cloth I use. The servant need not trouble her own hand to clean the metalwork, nor Lutetia. They smile at this eccentricity. "Oh, Rob," they say, "you do have such a nervous habit with that Chinese mirror of yours." "I suppose I do," I say. Now, I have to say, I really hope I didn't butcher that story. It's written in such an interesting style, and such a fascinating sort of switching of perspectives, and then also as well the names that come in without introduction. But then again, you don't really have time to introduce all these different family members and who they are. So I was trying to keep up with them. Hopefully I did some sort of justice to it. Also, I need to turn off my phone because apparently it's still getting emails. Thank you. The bronze mirror. I'm going to read that again, I think. I'm going to read that again. Apologies for the weird Victorian dialect. I was channeling my inner poet. No problem at all. I started... By the time I got to the second paragraph, I was sort of aware of where we were, like in terms of genre. No, I liked it. That was good. And the hansom cab just sort of nailed it for me as well. Catching a hansom. Okay. Next, we are going to do... Hang on. Is this the right order? Yep. Yes, it is. Okay, next we're going to do my story. This is a story that I wrote day before yesterday and edited it down from 888 words to 666 words without the title. And it's called A Tale in a teacup. Now, this one, the last story definitely had that sense of possession and ownership. The mirror owned the protagonist? Did the protagonist own the mirror? Did they own each other's fate and destiny? This kind of thing, in terms of possession. This one, my story, is sort of possession. Well, you'll see. It's a different take on the word. Charlotte was an archivist at a local museum. Occasionally, the elders of the village bequeathed donations in their wills. These artifacts were received with gratitude. After all, they were beloved of the recently deceased. But they were also intriguing unknowns. Today's accession was from a house clearance. The MacLeods had mysteriously quit the village one night, leaving a cluttered old house for their children to sift through in their wake. Charlotte gasped as she carefully unfurled the crumpled newspaper from the apple crate sitting on her desk. A bone china tea set, too gaudy for auction, but too fine to just chuck in the skip, apparently. It was delicately glazed, rimmed in gold, with repeating deep blue lattice work, framing vignettes of ornamental gardens, temples, peacocks, and koi-fish ponds. Resting a teacup in her upturned palms, the ceramic was so fine Charlotte could perceive daylight through the vessel itself. Bone china is comprised of up to 45% bone ash, she remarked to herself. Typically, these are cattle bones. Consequentially, some notable producers of fine china were located close to farmers' markets and slaughterhouses. As Charlotte contemplated the gently glowing cup, her thoughts wandered. What if there were no cattle? Would any bones do? Her head cocked to one side, staring into the cup. She became possessed of a singular notion. What if they were my bones? What if I were this cup? Charlotte gradually noticed a sound, quiet at first but becoming louder, as if the vessel were resonating like crystal. Light was no longer merely passing through the cup, but emanating from the china itself. It began to pulse in her hands with the rhythm of a heartbeat, pounding in her ears. It was her heart, and it was the cup. At once bright and dark, loud and quiet, all-consuming, swirling, swelling, shrinking. Charlotte's eyes rolled back in her head, and a sensation overtook her, like falling into a deep, dark ocean. But as she succumbed, Charlotte realized she was not rushing into the watery depths. She opened her eyes, and, as if in slow motion, she realized that she was falling through the air. In fact, she could see the empty chair that she had been sitting in. She had become the teacup. Charlotte was plummeting. All she could think about was smashing apart on the red carpet floor. She'd always hated that carpet. It was thin, cheap, bought on a council's budget. The horrid carpet rushed towards her. She braced for impact. Would she feel any pain? What would it feel like to shatter? Would she ever be whole again? Thunk! She landed with a sickening blow. Eventually, she worked up the courage to take a look. To her relief, she was still in one piece. Of course, she exclaimed. If she could have slapped her forehead with her hand, she would have. It may seem counterintuitive, but bone china, thin and elegant, is surprisingly hardy. Charlotte's relief soon gave way to exhaustion, and she passed the night, intact, on the office floor. Charlotte awoke with a start. as harsh fluorescent lights flickered high above her. She glanced. She glanced up at the clock. It was almost 7 a.m. The office door, gargantuan from her perspective, slowly opened as the cleaner shuffled in backwards, trailing a rumbling trolley of cleaning supplies into the room. "I'm down here!" Charlotte tried to call out, but scarcely a whisper could be heard. The cleaner did his rounds and was about to leave when... "Ooh, what's this?" He stopped and scooped Charlotte off the ground. "Yes," she exclaimed. "Help me!" Still, nothing could really be heard. The cleaner looked around the room, nodding as his eyes fell upon the desk. Carefully, he placed the teacup back into the apple crate and departed. The office was dark once more. Charlotte sighed, wondering if she'd ever be human again. "Charlotte, is that you?" came a familiar, Scottish apparently, voice, muffled by the crumpled paper that surrounded her. "For what it's worth, welcome to the clan." End. Yeah, there you go. It was good fun writing that. And I don't know, I wonder who else has been caught up in that tea set over the years. Charlotte is younger than 40, once older than that. The fall is far more likely to result in a fracture. Council, the real terror. Yeah, cheap council carpets. Our final story of the evening, and I should just check something. Let's have a look. How are we doing? Yeah, we're doing okay. Cool. Check something else as well, in terms of stream stability. Brilliant. Okay. A spooky thought, the bones. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I've always found it fascinating that bone china actually does incorporate bones. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, the sort of the pop culture notion of the reason why it's so fine is that it's really delicate. But actually, one of the reasons it's so fine and so prized is actually it's quite durable. So yeah. Anyway, the final story of the evening is once again Michelle's, and Michelle submitted a follow-up that was 666 words, not including the title. So, a zoo in every sip. And this one is called The Ghost of the Wight. That's W-I-G-H-T. It is entirely possible for wights to have ghosts, and Ozzy, the garden wight, had one. Skeletons are only human byproducts, Ozzy being bones possessed by sense, and his spirit being a shiftless layabout. But the approaching frigid pole, a ghost suddenly... But from the approaching frigid pole, a ghost suddenly appeared. It was thin and limbless, hovering pathetically like a ragged sheet on a line. It could not scare Ozzy if it tried. It lurked just behind him, wilting like an old bag, dangling on a vaporous loom. Its face tried to grimace and failed. "I'm ignoring you," said Ozzy, carrying on with his job. "I'm putting down my cutting clover and I'm ignoring you entirely." The ghost hovered deplorably. It breathed on the back of Ozzy's neck, speaking in a fathomless tone. "Yes, very good." Ozzy's jaw clacked. "You're mighty proud of yourself for saying half a word. All very clever, I'm sure." The ghost just hung there like an unwanted lampshade and pretended to be horrid. You can stop all that wretched wheezing, Ozzy demanded. You don't have lungs, and neither do I. Mindle scurried over to greet the lugubrious ghost. Oh, hello there. Look, Ozzy, your friend is back. Or is it just you? Because I don't know if being friends with ourselves counts. We haven't seen your ghost for some time now. Glad to see you again. Waving his hand in the ghost's face, trying for a reaction and receiving nothing. Does he have his own name, or should I give him, call him Ozzy the Second? Or perhaps Ozzy Junior? Or perhaps he's the senior one of the two, because he separated from you and became a ghost before your body became a Wight, maybe? The ghost, who had no choice in the matter but to hang about and make noises in a vague impression of Ozzy's voice, looked like it tried to wave and gave up halfway through. Eorhan seemed bemused. Your ghost? Don't act so surprised, Master Wolf. Oh, sorry, I'm getting confused about the characters here. Your ghost? Don't act so surprised, Master Wolf, Ozzy's skull chattered. Not in front of the Heleniums. They've only just begun to bloom. But how can you have a ghost? You're a Wight, and an autonomous one at that. I am, and you are a man and a wolf also. A man can be two things, but your bones are here, and your consciousness speaks through them. Yes, well, my flesh and feelings had to go somewhere. I keep what remains of my organs under a monument, so no one can accidentally retrucidate me, and the flesh is long rotted away. My feelings, however, went with my spirit, which now wears the billowing remnants of my pathetic, lifelike gauze. The ghost did not like what bordered on political commentary, and began to sob, only there were no ducts to cry out of. It went, and shook unimpressively. My apologies, said Ozzy, with apparent embarrassment. It's going to do this all day. Eorhan, sorry if I'm butchering that name, was trying to make sense out of it. So, you haunt yourself? Yes, and apparently I have no choice in the business. Now, you see why I shoo it away, like a leper at every opportunity. Will you stop crying? Ozzy's jaw clacked. You're a grown ghost now. How would you like it if all the other ghosts could see how you were carrying on? The ghost ignored his entreaties. It only hovered over Ozzy's shoulder and whispered in his ear, Ozzy leaned on his monument and made an empty sigh. Being undead makes me want to kill myself. I've never heard of ghosts haunting their own bones, though, said Eorhan. Well, Master Wolf, not every undead creature is unfortunate enough to be undead in two forms, Ozzy replied. My ghost doesn't appear often, and usually only at night. A shame it never comes inside, Mindle lamented. Many people keep their skeletons in the closet, but I think they ought to let them out, because they must surely be lonely in there. Ozzy was already planning to build a shed around his ghost and leave it there. Again, apologies. I should have read these things before I started the stream. The wolf completely caught me off guard there. But that was fun. That was fun. I like the idea of building a shed around your ghosts and being slightly embarrassed by it. And it sounds like it just wanted a nice home to stay in, really. It was just looking for somewhere to be a Wight. Now, obviously, well, not obviously, sorry. Excuse me. Wights, the main place I've heard of Wights before is things like the Barrow Wights in Lord of the Rings. These sort of, ethereal creatures that are anchored to a particular place. So, yeah. This is great. Flavour of Discworld in this. Yeah, Michelle is, she's all right. No, Michelle's written really very much in that vein with the character of Mindle. He's excellent, actually. And we have one of Mindle's adventures upstairs in the library. I can see it as a stop motion short. Yeah. Yep. With the, can you imagine? Yeah, and the clackering jaws. And there's a, I'll put it in the after streams on Discord, but there's a stop motion animator from Japan who's taken to doing stop motion with a skeleton, with I think it's a gorilla's skeleton, making pizza of all things, with that kind of thing. I think could work quite nicely. Thank you very much, guys, for turning up this evening. I know it's been actually a relatively quick stream for those 5 words, for say 5 stories. Normally we last for around about an hour, and this has been 3/4 of an hour. However, I do have an early start in the morning. I'm really excited to say that I'm going to be visiting Liv Westring, my wonderful Swedish friend who used to appear on Archaeosoup quite a lot from time to time, at least. But now she's she simply hasn't got the time, really. But it's been a while since I've seen her. She recently got married on Saturday, and she's having her honeymoon in Edinburgh with her wonderful partner, wife. I'm going to have to confirm what the word they want is. Anna. And I haven't met Anna yet as well. It's going to be great. So, yeah, me and Mr. Super heading up to Edinburgh tomorrow. Yes, I should read yours, Charmander. I will. Hang on. But yeah, it's an early start. And we're going to do the tour of the underground city. After all, it's still very much spooky season. Day of the Dead in a couple of days, after all. So I'm going to have to turn my phone back on now because I turned it off, didn't I? Didn't I? Honestly. That was lovely to pop in and find myself in one of these lives again after so long. What a fantastic idea. Well, thank you very much, Neverwise. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr. It's as much as I've been tired and ever so slightly sad this October, this Halloween, I simply had to do the story live stream, absolutely. And it's such a pleasure. And actually, as Michelle was saying on in an interview that doesn't exist anymore, which we're going to be re-recording on Thursday, the quality is always fantastic, and I only ever hope to try and do the story some sort of justice. What I should do, actually. And maybe I should do that this year, at the end of this week, maybe this weekend, is put stories, the written submissions, into maybe a blog, or into a place, some sort of place where people can find them and read them for themselves. That could be quite good, actually. Yeah. Right, where's the thing? It exists. Well, it exists, but it exists in a sort of like a black hole. Everything was kind of squashed in on itself, wasn't it? Overlapping dialogue. Right. Let's see. Poems and creative writing on Discord. And we have Charmanar's entry, where he insisted that he did not need 666 words. If I can just find the thing. Are you sure it's there, Charmanar? Have you got rid of it, or is it posted somewhere else? Is it in general? Yeah, a spooky bookie depository, or a soupy spooky bookie depository. No, 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 no. Do you know where you put it, Charminar? It doesn't seem to be in creative writing. Is it in books? You're just looking as well. Yeah, me too. Me too. They're building up all of this anticipation. You haven't deleted it. Okay, well that's good. Problem is, it was so efficient. It's kind of hard to find. Nope. Well, this is the best part of the. Oh, it's in vids. Okay, cool. Okay, see vids. Best part of the live stream by far. There we go. Okay, yeah, I found it. I found it. Okay, prepare yourselves, people. Prepare yourselves. At Charminar, I can't do 666 words, but here is 6 words per line, he says. And okay. The British Museum enters a foreign land, pockets significant historic artifacts, and leaves. Fuck you, it's ours now. I'll be honest. I slightly recoil from that, in so much as obviously the BM doesn't go into foreign land. It was mainly the BE, British Empire, that did that. But you're right. Yeah, okay, fair enough. And that is undeniably possession as well. Possession apparently being like, being in this instance 120% of the law. It was worth it. Okay, I'm glad it was worth it. Well done, Charminar. Shall we put that into the long-term archive as well? Yeah. Fuck you. It's ours now. Although hopefully, things are going to be being given back in the not too distant future. That'd be fantastic. Bit by bit. Also, as well, there may be between you, me, and the Gatepost, may well be a interesting story coming out about George Osborne. It was came out in the COVID inquiries today, I believe. No, sorry, was it today? You think that was your favourite one? Fair enough. Nevertheless, fair enough. Maybe it should be a haiku. Maybe next year it should be. You can write a story and a haiku, maybe, or either or. But no, something to do with funneling money, quite possibly. So the current head of the board of the BM may be in a bit of trouble. Which would be a shame, because he's also one of the main driving forces behind getting, for example, the Parthenon marbles back to Greece in some form. So I guess we'll see. Well, nevertheless, if you're not already, you should definitely join the Discord server. I believe information is in the video description below. You can also, guys, you can also expect a time-stamped version of this live stream, the VOD, uh, to be in the information for the timestamps of all the stories to be in that information when I make this stream live, the VOD. Probably not tomorrow because we're going to be in Edinburgh, but probably on Thursday. So you can expect to see that then. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining. Osborne never. I know. But anyway, yeah, feel free to continue that conversation in the Discord. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. My voice is starting to give out though, and I do have an early morning. So diolch yn fawr again. Merci beaucoup for all of your writing attempts and your essays, and hopefully you've all had a good Halloween, or you're having a good Halloween. Until next time, though, do take care. Bye bye. Happy Halloween, yes, Happy Halloween. Or Calan Gaeaf, hapus, as they say in Wales, or in Welsh. They say it in England, for goodness sake, if you're Welsh. Right. Bye, guys. Take care. Good night. And you're very welcome, Lord Engine.